business around the world to allow our families to be able to visit loved ones when they are sick. And unfortunately, this order continues to create problems with those Washingtonians. The new order is not in keeping with the basic core values of this country. It further reduces our nation's already meager assistance to those who are fleeing extreme violence. And this is very disappointing. The President wants to cut in half the compassion that we have shown for people fleeing the civil war in Syria. That's untenable. Our nation is one based on compassion and empathy for refugees from war-torn areas. And our nation's compassion and empathy was not cut in half the day Donald Trump took the oath as President of the United States. This order, I do not believe, advances our national security. It actually continues to retard it. It purports to improve a vetting process that is already more rigorous than any other, while giving ammunition to the most extreme terrorist groups who continue to argue that somehow America is opposed to the Muslim world, when in fact we are allied with the Muslim world in fighting against terrorism. We now have two separate analyses from the Department of Homeland Security itself, which has concluded that there is not a national security rationale for this order. But going forward, we're going to continue to do what we've done in the past. We will stand up for the rights of Washingtonians, and we will do it in a thoughtful manner. And that is why I'm glad that the Attorney General is now doing a thoughtful review of the options that now are before us. I spoke to the Attorney General this morning. I'm confident that as a team is going to do a thorough analysis of this and make the right decision about our future course. But I do believe we know this already about this. We know that states can and need to be resolute and diligent protectors of the rights of our citizens. We know that we need to continue to fight the battles against a president who has been erratic and unhinged. We know we have battles on health care to keep the health care of our Washingtonians from being jeopardized. We know we have battles to continue our effort to follow science on climate change. We know we have battles to protect people against bullying for transgender students in our states. This has been a lesson in diligence, creativity, and a little dose of courage to stand up for our people. And we will find the right way to continue to do that. So happy to stand for questions.
Now, the Attorney General did say he's still evaluating the order and hasn't made a decision like you noted, but is there anything that you at this point think he should do, or are you waiting to see what he's doing?
Well, I think he should do exactly what he's doing, which is going through this order with a fine-tooth comb and looking at our legal options. And there are some complicated legal issues that I know he's looking at. He's going to help us make the right decision. I'm confident of that. So he's doing the right thing. He's not acting out of a knee-jerk response, in contrast to the White House, frankly. So I think we're doing the right thing, and I think he's got a fairly short window for making a decision. I'm confident that he will make the right decision in that regard.
This morning's rollout, federal officials seem to think that the original order was completely legal and this was just a renewed one. Is that a slap in the face when you hear them saying that what they originally had was just fine?
Well, I think it's pretty much consistent with the president's claim that Barack Obama was from Kenya. And it's the same kind of living in a different universe that, unfortunately, we've had to come to expect from this president. You've seen his most recent attack on Barack Obama without any evidence whatsoever. They live in an evidence-free world. We live in a different world in Washington State, where we make decisions based on the Constitution, what's good for our businesses and our families. The reality of this is clear. The president was slapped down repeatedly by 4 courts, 2 appointed by the Bush administrations, in 2 different levels of the federal judiciary. He argued he was going to continue this in his bravado bombast. He was going to see us in court, and he's now had to back down. This is a retreat. It is a retreat on Syria, on Iraq, on green card holders. He has removed his prioritization of religion. And I guess it reminds me of Douglas MacArthur, who said, well, you're in retreat. He says, no, it's an advance in retrograde. So I guess the president would argue this is an advance in retrograde. This is a full-blown retreat by President Trump. It is the first one he's been forced to make. I hope there will be many. But he's had to back off in significant ways in this regard, and it's made benefits for, you know, tens or hundreds of thousands of people, this retreat. This has had real-life ramifications. Because of the work we did, I was able to go to SeaTac the day they shipped back a husband of an American citizen who got him back after a week's worth because of our work, and now has been reunited with his wife. We were able to get in a World Health Organization health leader to the University of Washington Global Health Summit on their 10th anniversary, who we got back just in time to give his keynote address. We have an HIV researcher who's been able to return to do his HIV research at the University of Washington. These are real people whose real lives we've been able to benefit because we have forced Donald Trump into retreat. And it is a good thing. Now, I know they just can't stand to recognize that, but I think the world knows how to keep score here.
Governor, could you cite an example of what you mean by the president is unhinged? And secondly, do you think Congress should consider impeaching him?
I'm not going to even talk about the second issue. But the first issue, we just repeatedly see the president going off on unprovoked, unthoughtful, unplanned actions that do nothing but cause division, uncertainty, and anxiety, even amongst his own team. You know, it's got to be the worst jobs in America right now working for President Trump. To think when you should have a well-planned way how to handle this rollout of this first executive order. He didn't even talk to his people. The poor people worked at SeaTac for Homeland Security. They were given no real notice of this when it was rolled out, and so we had chaos at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, and that's just an everyday occurrence in this administration. We saw what the president did with no evidence whatsoever this weekend, who accused his predecessor, Barack Obama, of a crime with no evidence whatsoever, humiliating anyone who works for him. And by the way, I agree. I read an editorial today by one of our newspapers who's apparently been banned from the White House that suggests maybe some people need to get off that train in that administration just to wake the president up. This is a serious issue, what he's doing to the credibility of the United States. And unfortunately, we had some folks in the media establish a new love affair when he got to go to Congress and read a teleprompter for 40 minutes. But that grace period lasted about 24 hours. So there are many instances. I'll just mention that one.
Two more questions. Governor, as you know, there were some pro-Trump events, rallies in the country this weekend, including one in Spokane, at which the sheriff, Spokane County Sheriff Ozzie Knezevich, suggested that you may have violated your oath of office on your immigration order, restricting state agencies from helping enforce federal immigration laws. And he says that the 39 sheriffs are going to let you know that they're going to do their jobs in enforcing immigration laws. So, first of all, have you heard from the sheriffs? And secondly, what do you think of Sheriff Knezevich's suggestion that you violated your oath of office on immigration?
Well, I'd be happy to talk to him. He hasn't called me if he has concerns in that regard. We have issued an executive order that is fully compliant with both Washington state law and the United States Constitution. Our Washington State Patrol will continue in its policy of enforcing the laws of the state of Washington. The laws of the state of Washington are quite clear that we do not have arrest authority for federal immigration laws absent a federal warrant, and this is clear. And essentially, my executive order reaffirms that position. And the situation is if the immigration authorities of the United States seek an arrest of an individual, they can issue an arrest warrant Under those circumstances, the State Patrol will fulfill its duty to implement the arrest warrant. But the state is not empowered, required, or allowed to arrest people in the absence of an arrest warrant on federal immigration charges. So we have made clear that our law enforcement agencies, the State Patrol, is going to continue to be an effective law enforcement agency by enforcing the laws of the state of Washington. And this is really important. I've talked to Sheriff Batiste about this and to our state troopers. When our state troopers come to the scene of an accident and there are people standing around and you want to find out what happened in the accident or a domestic violence situation and you want to find out who's the perpetrator and who's the victims, you want people to be able to talk to the law enforcement agency. And if people see our State Patrol as just an extension of Donald Trump's many immigration agents, they're less willing to talk to our law enforcement personnel. This is a security interest of our State Patrol. So we are going to continue to enforce our state law. As I've said, if there's arrest warrants that in fact are issued by the federal government, the State Patrol will follow those. But I think this may be a case where the sheriff is not familiar with what our real policy is. I'd be happy to talk to him about it.
Governor, Governor New York went further than Washington has so far, established a legal funding outlet. That's something that advocates in the state have mentioned before. Governor Gonzalez in Seattle brought it up and pushed Seattle to do it. Also, we've seen attorney generals in other states establish hotlines, such as the one that is referenced in the House bill currently in play. Do you have any steps to do anything more than that, or go beyond that?
Well, we've had our hands full fighting this particular unconstitutional executive order, so we've been focused on this. I think what we're going to need from the administration is clarity on their immigration policies. And I think this is one of the severe anxieties that has been caused by this administration, because frankly at the moment is still clueless on what its immigration policies really are. Let me give you an example of this. We have 750,000 people who are our dreamers. These are students who are on our college campuses today at our universities in the state of Washington. They've been embraced on a bipartisan basis here when we passed the DREAM Act here 2 years ago. But the administration still wants to leave these people between the devil and the deep blue sea. They've refused to give us clarity what they're going to do, if anything, to respect the dreamers. And until we have that clarity, it's difficult to know what to advise folks to be able to set up a hotline and that kind of thing. So I have urged the administration to, look, show us what your real policy is going to be. Don't hold 750,000 people in a state of suspended animation. I hope they will do so. They owe us that. They owe the country this. But it's like so many other things in this administration, it's a train wreck. So when we get some further clarity about this immigration, what their policies will actually be, and we get some of our questions answered, and we've been disappointed because they have not answered our questions. I note that they have taken into custody a man who was headed from the state of Washington. I believe he's in California right now, and they have not answered the questions our senators have asked about this situation. We need clarity from the administration. They owe that to the American people so that we can make legitimate decisions and give legitimate advice to the people in our state. We need that. Thank you very much.